So my grandfather, my dad's dad, was a charter subscriber to Rodale's Organic Gardening and Farming magazine when it first came out in about 1945. A lot of people don't realize it had been about post World War II there, with all those stockpiles of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, NPK, that was used for ammunition. Uh, the war effort paid for the consolidation and the streamlining, the branding, and the mining, and just the efficiency of being able to get, huge amounts of NP and K into the hands of weaponry to make ammunition. When the war was over, well, what do we do with all this stockpile of stuff? Well, that went right into the fertilizer industry, and so the war effort actually paid for a lot of the initial capitalization and branding and development of the chemical fertilizer industry. So at that time there was quite a watershed. A guy named Lewis Bromfield. He was a wealthy novelist, and he was up for Secretary of Agriculture, and he was a non-chemical guy. Robert Rodale, or J.I. Rodale, and the Rodale family in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. That's why they started the organic gardening and farming outfit, and so there was a tremendous amount of there was a tension there in the country. It wasn't clear whether we would go chemical or non-chemical. Well, we went chemical, and so my grandfather sided with the non-chemical, and Dad got it from him. I got it from him, and so here we are. So I don't have a conversion story. We just always did this. And my dad was an economist. He was a pencil. He was a tax accountant, and he came to this not so much from um, an ecology standpoint, but from an economic standpoint. He saw the chemical approach as being basically a drug addiction. You have to get more potent stuff. It becomes more expensive. You're on this rat race trying to get ahead of the cost and the adaptation of ecology to these chemicals, and you just can't outrun it. And so he took a completely different approach and said, "Well, let's look at how nature functions." Well, animals move. Soil is built with decomposing carbon. Um, Nature likes diversity and doesn't like monocultures. Nature doesn't till, it doesn't plow, and nature cycles everything pretty close. You don't send stuff globally that much. Most things, I mean, there's always been a spice trade and things like that, but generally, you're not sending most of the mainstays of food, around the globe. And so these were basic principles that he started experimenting with and developing with, so that through the first 20 years here, from 61 to 81 here on the farm, it was basically a glorified homestead with a lot of experiments. So when I came back to the farm full time September 24, 1982, I had all this background of experiments, but nobody had made a living on the farm. And I came back and said, "Oh, I want to make a living on the farm." And so, Teresa and I got married. We lived in the attic of the farmhouse, and leveraged these 20 years of experiments. And it took us 3 years before we could, before we could exhale. Oh, okay, we're gonna make it. Uh, but we wouldn't trade it for the world, and we were able to squeak by. And by the end of the third year, we realized that we were gonna actually make it.